And actually, we have Chris Shearn on the line right now. Chris, it's Ryan and Scott. Thanks a lot for coming on. What's going on?
Wow, no wait, just right on the air. What's going on with you guys?
Well, you're the only caller so far.
We were too excited. We needed to bring you on real quick.
I know the feeling from my college days, boys. I know it very well.
Well, speaking of your college days, what has your career been like from your days in college to today, Chris?
Oof, that is a long and detailed answer that I will have to give you the short version, like the Spaceballs short version. So here we go. I went to Rowan University. I was accepted when it was still Glassboro State College. It's in Glassboro, New Jersey. Traditionally, it's a teacher's school, hence our awful nickname. And I'm sorry, Rowan, but the professors it has to be updated.
The profs.
Pretty much the worst nickname in college, in my opinion. I love the school. I love my professors, but the nickname is it's hideous. Anyway, as I was saying about my professors, they really got me ready to get out into the field. Tremendous radio, TV, and film program down there. The television and radio is what I really focused in on. I had a radio show like you guys. I had a morning show. I had a sports show. I did play-by-play for basketball and baseball. The morning show was 5 days a week. I was at the station turning the transmitter on at 7 o'clock. You learn responsibility. You learn about working in pretty much a newsroom. The general manager who ran it, Frank Hogan, a great human being. He just retired recently, and it's good for him. He's worked enough. He deserves it. But he was very integral in getting me where my head needed to be. Another guy, Ed Kasuba, who worked for KYW News Radio in Philadelphia. I interned with him. I had broadcast journalism with him. And, if you want to put your head down on your pillow in your dorm room at night and worry about class the next day, that was the class to take. It was also a great class. About the second or third week of the class, if you had one mistake on your homework, it was a 0. So he really treated it like you were in a newsroom, like you were in a working environment, and he wanted no mistakes. He really took the journalism part of broadcast journalism to heart, which, as you guys see, a lot of the times nowadays, that word really doesn't ring true. It's more of get it out there first and be the first one to tweet it instead of being right about something. And I don't know how many times I've seen something that was wrong, but it was just tweeted out because whoever wanted to have it first.
Yeah, so, we were actually just talking about that in our class last week.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
About a lot of misinformation just because people want to get it out there first.
AKA Carlos Gomez to the Mets.
Well, that was a little convoluted.
Right.
We don't know the real ins and outs of that, but yeah, that's a pretty good example.
Right.
And then after college, I worked for Major League Baseball Productions for a minute as a logger and an editor. Basically, I was getting paid to watch sports. I figured that was pretty cool, getting out of college and being able to watch sports and getting paid for it. I could be doing it at home and not getting paid for it, so that was pretty cool. After that, I coached my brother's baseball team, and my shortstop on that team, his aunt, was a director at CNBC, which was fast moving into MSNBC, and they had something that MLB Productions wasn't offering me, and that was benefits. So I took the job at MSNBC. There was no sports there, but I got a nice little news background. And as I told Ryan when he came to visit, yes, you can't really look a job horse in the mouth. You have to go and you have to get experience any way you can. And when I went to MSNBC and I spent 6 years there, I really learned a lot about the overall business. And I went, from the ground up, from a production assistant all the way to a sports producer. They got rid of sports in 1997, I believe. They did have it when I first got there in 96, but in 97, they got rid of it. So it was kind of a drag, but at the same time, I moved laterally onto the news side, and I learned a lot about being an associate producer, a tape producer. It wasn't a union shop, so you could go in, you could learn how to edit, you could ask people questions and actually put your hands on the equipment. MSNBC was a great springboard for when I left there and went to Yes. And hit the ground running at Yes. I made a lateral move to go there. It was actually kind of a backward step, but it's where I wanted to be. I grew up in the tri-state area. I grew up a fan of the Pinstripes, and to be in that position as an associate producer for the network that runs the Yankees, I thought it was a pretty good fit for me.
Right.
And 13 years later, here I am on the air and doing my thing, and couldn't be happier. So I hope that answered your question in a roundabout way. It could have been a lot longer, but I spared you guys a lot of
that was actually beautiful, and it worked our way up to our next question. So now that you said that you worked your way from the ground up, you took a little back step into YES. What is it like now being an on-air talent for the YES Network and working for the Yankees and the Nets?
It used to be where it was like a step back and pinch myself moment. It's not that anymore because you grow into that role. And if you sit there, keep pinching yourself, is it still a dream? Absolutely. I'm not trying to throw cold water on that. But I think in order for you to grow in your position, you have to stop pinching yourself and say, I'm here. Now it's time to press forward and get to the next level.
Time to get to work. Yeah.
And, it's been 13 years. I've been on the air for a decade, which is kind of hard for me to say because I'm getting old. But, the journey there has been another where, at MSNBC I wasn't necessarily doing sports, but as I said, I was learning the business. And at YES, baseball, I played it my whole life. I followed it my whole life. I still play to this day. And if I told you I didn't learn something on a daily basis, I'd be lying to you. That's why this sport is so beautiful, is because you're always learning constantly. You're always getting information that you're saying, you know what, I never thought about it like that before. There's so many ins and outs and, the minutia of it. You can get lost. Something I try not to get lost in is sabermetrics and statistics because, while they do help you in a lot of areas if you're a manager, I think they tend to hurt you as well because anything you put onto paper can't tell you anything about the human being that those numbers represent. There's no sabermetrics for being a human.
Yeah.
So that's where I tend to put that in the old waste paper basket.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So October baseball finally upon us, and I've told you this before. This Yankee team, I told you back when I visited, this team does not have a true identity. The wild card game is tomorrow. Does this team have a true identity? Because I'm still struggling to find that answer.
Well, listen, this is a team, Ryan, that, let's be honest, none of the experts picked this team to have over 80 wins or even sniff the playoffs. I'm talking about like 1,000 yards away from the kitchen, you don't know what's cooking. They were not supposed to be in this position. Now, could they be in a better position? Yes. But how many other teams go 47-19 down the stretch to when the Blue Jays clinched?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That was July 28th until they clinched the division. Think about that. 47-18. For any team to try to keep pace with that,
right?
It's
Ridiculous.
unbelievable. So for the Yankees to be in the position there, and listen, they got a home game. They're the home team in the wild card. Now, did they back into the playoffs? Of course they did. Did they lose 6 of 7 to put themselves in a position where they had to see if the Astros lost to the Diamondbacks? Yes, they did. But they're in this position. They're facing a guy in Dallas Keuchel that is working on 3 days rest. But I say put that on a piece of paper, crumple it up, and throw it in the garbage.
Yep.
Because this guy, in 2 starts against the Yankees, take his splits, which are also awful on the road. He's undefeated at home, but he's awful on the road. Well, one of his 5 wins on the road is against the Yankees.
Yep.
One of his 2 wins since May 9th, I believe, on the road is against the Yankees. And guess where it happened? At Yankee Stadium. He's 27 years old. I looked these numbers up earlier today. CC Sabathia, he was 27 years old in 2008 when he was with the Brewers and throwing on 3 days rest. His record was 2-1 with a .83 ERA.
Jeez.
Throw that 3 days rest out the window. I don't care if he's never done it before. This is the playoffs. This is the big stage. Keuchel has said this. He's ready. He's ready to go. He's thrown 16 innings against the Yankees this year. 16.
Yep.
He's got 21 strikeouts and 1 walk and an ERA of 0.00.
He's unbelievable. The guy. If David Price didn't go off, this guy is without a doubt a AL Cy Young winner. Absolutely.
But you can't deny what Price has done with the Blue Jays either. And I talked to David Cohn about this. I talked to John Flaherty about this ad nauseum, and they both bring it up. I just kind of ask them. I want to get their input, and they tell me, with a megaphone, it's not just what Price does in his starts. It's that attitude that Price brings in those starts. It's go back to 2009. Go back to that Yankees rotation. Go back to CC Sabathia being the ace, A.J. Burnett, Andy Pettitte. No one wanted to drop that baton. Nobody wanted to be that starter that said, "Oh, it's my turn." They were so challenged by the top of the rotation to keep up that level that I think that's why the Yankees were so successful back in 2009. And look at Andy Pettitte. He won every clinching game in the playoffs, for crying out loud. So you take a guy like Price, you throw him into that Blue Jays rotation, you get guys like R.A. Dickey, who's never been to the playoffs. Marcus Stroman's never been to the playoffs. Who am I missing? Marco Estrada has a cup of coffee in the playoffs, I think back in 2011 with the Astros. And who else? Burley, he has his postseason experience with the White Sox. But Price brings that swagger, that top of the rotation, top of the line ace, that kind of, I know you guys don't remember Ronald Reagan, you're way too young, but he talked about something about trickle-down economics. That's what Price brings. He brings that trickle-down swaggernomics.
Right.
That's a Chris Shearn original.
Swaggernomics.
Hashtag that on Twitter.
I like that.
Swaggernomics. They should make a class about that. They'll start it rowing.
Swaggernomics 101.
There you go. I'm going to be a professor.
All right, Chris. Now flipping to the managerial standpoint, a lot of people are going at Joe Girardi over the entire season. I want to know what your opinion on him is.
My dad used to tell me all the time, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what. I really think that Joe Girardi in 2012, when they made the playoffs, 2013 and 2014 when they didn't make the playoffs, this team, everybody, I see everything on Twitter, and it's exactly right. This team could have gone to a 69-70 win team. Now, I know they didn't make the playoffs, but do you know how many injuries Girardi's had to deal with?
Thank you.
In 2013, it was the rotation. Last year, it was the lineup.
And the rotation as well.
And the rotation. You have to put that into perspective. And the Yankees were still above 500 both seasons. This guy, now I know everybody gives him a lot of stuff for the binder and this and that and the other thing, but this is another year. This is another year where they weren't supposed to do anything, and this guy has made chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what. They're in the postseason. I don't care if it's just for one game. A lot of Yankee fans, they sit there and they beat their chest, and it's the World Series or it's a failure. It's not the case. Look at the Yankees down the stretch in September. Who kept them afloat? A 21-year-old Luis Severino and a 22-year-old Greg Bird. I mean, who would have thought that going into the season? And I just had I did this for you guys because I was on the show with you tonight.
Thank you.
I had our research department come up with this. And a big thank you. I want to give props to Jeff Quagliata, who's the head of research at Yes, and he's at Yes to Research on the Twitter machine.
Yeah, Jeff does a phenomenal job.
You should give him a follow. And also Seth Rothman, who's in that department and put these numbers together for me. I thought about it this morning. I was like, you know what? I wonder how the team is with lefty starters, with Teixeira in the lineup and with Teixeira out of the lineup. And here are those numbers, guys. The Yankees have faced 50 lefty starters this season. 35 of those games, Mark Teixeira was in the lineup. Those starters in those games went 9-15 with a 5.16 ERA. The Yankees hit .260, and they hit 26 home runs.
Wow.
Okay, that's with him in the lineup in those 35 games. Now, less of a sample size. Without Teixeira, 15 games. Those lefty starters over those 15 games are 8-4 with a 3.56 ERA, and the Yankees have hit 6 home runs.
Wow.
So think about that for a second. Without Tex, that's what tells you the dynamic of what Mark Teixeira brings to this lineup.
Being that switch hitter, yeah.
Yeah, it just takes so much away from Joe Girardi and what he's able to do and how he's able to mix and match that lineup. 3.56. So you're talking about almost a run, more than a run and a half off the ERA without Tex in that lineup.
Right. So yeah, Teixeira arguably MVP. When you pull up those kind of numbers, Teixeira was probably the MVP of this Yankee season before he went down.
He was definitely up there in the conversation for sure, but you can't take away like what Josh Donaldson's done this year. That guy's an absolute beast.
Freak. Yeah, exactly. So now 2 questions into one kind of. We have to bring up CC Sabathia. Obviously, the big news is that he went into the alcohol rehab center today. How much does CC's absence hurt this team because he was pitching very well since he came off the disabled list? That, and with CC gone, assuming he would have been in the rotation, what should the Yankee rotation be if they make it past tomorrow night?
Well, first of all, I want to say kudos to CC.
Agreed.
For doing this and doing it now without, putting baseball first. He's putting his family first.
Absolutely.
All things aside, people on Twitter,
we've had this discussion before.
These are the days that Twitter should be thrown away because people don't realize, he's not a competitor. Yes, he is. He is. This is a guy who has, instead of saying, my knee's no good, I can't go anymore, put a brace on and went back out there and gave the Yankees an ERA of 2.11 over the starts he's been out there since he came back from the disabled list.
Yep.
I don't want to hear anything about him not being a competitor. This is bigger than baseball. This is bigger than a wild card game. This is bigger than playoff baseball. This is about a human being and his family wanting him to take care of business. So, having said that, kudos to CC Sabathia for entering this program and starting to get his life straight, because that's what's important. And you heard it in his statement today. He wants to get better so we can go back to enjoying the game that brings so much joy to his life. So, having said that, your other questions. What was the first one? I'm sorry, I forgot.
How CC hurts the team, and then what the rotation is going to look like.
It definitely hurts the team, and it's the point you brought up, and that is, he was pitching so well since coming off the DL. It does, in fact, hurt the team. It hurts the rotation because now, you might have to turn to a guy like Ivan Nova. You might have to turn to a guy like Michael Pineda. And I just worked the numbers on Pineda this morning for his last 2 starts. He faced the Red Sox and the Orioles, and his ERA is 10.24. And his batting average against is over 300. I think it was 311 or 321. I can't really remember. But either way, it's bad. Ivan Nova has not been good. Let's face it. Those 2 are huge disappointments. Now, I know Nova's coming back from the Tommy John. He gets a bit of a pass here. But as far as Pineda goes, I don't know what's going on with Pineda. Now, Nathan Eovaldi today threw a short 10-pitch bullpen, according to our buddy Chad Jennings over at Lowhud. He posted this. I want to give him credit. He threw a 10-pitch bullpen, and he faced hitters for the first time since being shut down with elbow inflammation in early September. He said there's no chance he could throw tomorrow, especially after going today, but he would assume for Kansas City if they made it. I just got done out there, so I don't know when I would be throwing next or what I need to do, but he threw 25 to 30 pitches today. He said he felt good. He just felt a little rusty. Other than that, it felt great. So that's positivity from Eovaldi. However, when can he go? When can he start? He still has to be stretched out. If the Yankees win tomorrow against the Astros, can you start Eovaldi in a game 3? I mean, what is that? Thursday, Friday, off Saturday, so that would be Sunday at Yankee Stadium. And what's today? Monday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, he'd be working on 6 days rest. But still, he only threw 25 to 30 pitches today. So how much can you get out of him? That's the thing you have to wonder about. And then if you do throw him out there, you're going to tax the bullpen. You're going to need to go to it early, and you know that. So basically, if the Yankees advance tomorrow, I think the best scenario for Eovaldi, Warren would have to come back into the rotation, and he's the only one I trust to go in the third game.
Agreed.
Right now, you're looking, well, actually, the second game of the DS, because it would be Tanaka tomorrow, obviously. Then it would be Severino in game 1 of the DS, and then I would throw Warren in game 3. Then, if you want to put Eovaldi in the bullpen and stretch him out that way, if Warren gets into trouble, then you got something going on. But Warren's been back in the starting rotation, so if you wanted to start Eovaldi, there's that mix and match you could do there, the juxtaposition. But if you start Eovaldi, Kansas City's going to know he's not going to be out there long.
Right.
So that's the second part of the question you asked me. I would definitely go back to Adam Warren, and then based on what's been happening with Pineda and Nova, I don't know. Flip a coin. What do you guys think?
I don't know, because my thing is, I mean, it's basically proven that if Pineda's slider is not there, he's going to get tattooed.
Right.
Do you want to take that risk with him? Because we all heard in spring training, people were saying Pineda was one of the best pitchers in the American League during spring training. But if he doesn't have his off speed, he's done. So, I don't know. I mean, I agree 100% now. I was leaning toward Pineda starting game 2, but as soon as I saw him this week, Severino has to start game 1, of the DS. Severino has been unbelievable. And then
I don't care how old he is. He's got to start.
Yep.
So put that in the old pipe and smoke it. And also this tomorrow night. We're talking about something that might not even happen. I mean, they have to get by tomorrow,
right,
in order to even start to entertain those thoughts. And I saw earlier, Eric Cooper is the home plate umpire for the wild card game between the Yankees and Astros at the stadium tomorrow night. And I love doing this. I don't know why. I may be the only person that does this, but I check to see if the pitcher's been up there. But it's a pertinent point, because depending on if the umpire gives you corners, whatnot, it does make a difference. And Keuchel has 4 starts. Tanaka doesn't have a single start with Cooper back there. So this will be Tanaka's first start. He doesn't know, how to...
He doesn't know a strike zone.
Right. So Keuchel does. He's 1-2 in 4 starts. And there were 3 starts before this year, and I think his ERA is up around 6 in those starts.
Wow.
His 4th start, his 1 win was his start at Yankee Stadium, where he spanned 9 over 7.
Wow.
Okay.
So put that into the old blender too, and when you're watching it tomorrow, just remember that your Uncle Chris told you that Eric Cooper's behind the dish, and Keuchel had some success not too long ago with Cooper back there.
We're going to the game tomorrow. We're going to be telling people, Chris told us this. We're going to tell our whole section tomorrow.
Well, do yourselves a favor and don't say it if the Yankees are losing, because I don't need to hate on Twitter. Thank you very much.
Good. All right, you got it. Deal.
So, Chris, what's your prediction for tomorrow night? What do you think?
You know what? Here.
That doesn't sound too good.
Here's what I think, and you know what? I'm not gonna. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, and that's what I've been taught to do my whole life.
I'm the optimistic Yankee fan. Ryan isn't. You're very pessimistic.
We'll talk about that another day.
Well, Ryan and I are in the same boat then. But here's what I posted on Facebook, and then you guys could debate me. Ryan, obviously, you're going to agree with me. The Yankees are in. I don't know what camp you fall under. The beat your chest, we have to win the World Series every year. Well, we are failures camp. Or the people who like to live in a little place I call reality and are and should be happy that even though it's a 1 in a million chance, the Yankees have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel like they're going to magically remember how to hit against a left-handed 20-game winner? Don't bring up 3 days rest either. 16 innings, 21 Ks, 1 walk, 0.00 ERA and 2 starts for Keuchel against the Bombers. I think, and you're not... Ryan, who's your co-host's name? I'm sorry.
Scott.
You're not going to like this, Scott.
All right.
I think they are one and done, but they are in a better spot than they were in 2013 and 2014.
Yep. Yeah.
they are at least in it. A team that was predicted to win under 80 games and not even think about getting into the playoffs.
Yep.
So here's what we have, Scott, okay? Here's the thing to be positive about. Tomorrow night, Yankee fans have the opportunity to watch their team in a playoff game with a chance to head to Kansas City and shock the American League. And guess what? Mr. Negativity is saying if they do get by Keuchel, if Keuchel lays an egg, the Yankees can beat the Royals, and you could see the New York Yankees in the ALCS. I'm not saying they're going to beat either the Rangers or the Blue Jays, but if they get by this one game, they could be playing in the ALCS.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know about you two. I'm sorry, Scott,
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
I don't know about you two, but I consider this season a success.
I do.
It is.
I do.
How could
And
it not be?
I'm not one of those World Series or
27.
World Series or bust people. I live in reality. I'm just optimistic for a win. I have a stat right here. Carlos Beltran's been hitting very well.
Yes.
Is batting .444 against Keuchel in 9 at-bats with the home run. So, maybe.
Well, you better hope there's 2 on, and it's the second inning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm optimistic.
With no outs.
Yeah, and this is another thing, guys, and in all honesty and in all sincerity, all kidding aside, Masahiro Tanaka cannot go out there in the first inning and give up a 3 spot.
Yep.
You can't.
Momentum has to swing early. That's going to be the win of the game right there. I think whoever scores first, boom.
He's got to go out, and he's got to hold the Astros. Remember, when Tanaka pitched against them earlier in the season in Houston, he gave up gopher balls to Chris Carter, Jose Altuve, and Carlos Correa. These guys are not patsies. They can hit.
No.
They can hit. They know how to play the game. They wouldn't be in this position. They wouldn't have improved by 16 games this season if they didn't know how to play the game of baseball. A.J. Hinch has done a tremendous job with the Houston Astros. You know, Yankee fans thinking that you can't just beat your chest and say, yeah, we got it, we'll be in Kansas City on Thursday. No, this Houston team is a threat.
Mm-hmm.
It's a threat. And if you think they're panicking about having to go to New York, despite their awful road record, did you see them celebrating last night? It really seemed to faze them.
No, not at all. And they're young players. They love this. They love the postseason. So
they've got nothing to lose. This is a team that lost 100 or more 3 straight seasons.
111 2 years ago.
3 straight seasons, and now they're in the wild card game. They're playing with house money.
Exactly.
House money, and before this is over, because I don't know when you guys are going to let me go, because I could talk forever. Ryan knows that.
Soon. Please hurry up.
Brian Cashman takes a lot of mudslinging here and there, and that's to put it lightly. But I have to give the guy credit where credit is due.
Yep.
He could have went and made a move at the deadline, got rid of Severino, got rid of Bird, got rid of another prospect. This is the question I pose to every Yankee fan out there in Ramapo land and beyond. Would you rather win one World Series this year, once again, trading away the future, or do you want to have another core of players have a shot this year, albeit a 1 in a million shot, but as Jim Carrey said in Dumb and Dumber,
so you're telling me there's a chance?
Okay? Or would you rather have that core, and I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's going to be Rex Snyder. I don't know if he's your everyday second baseman in the future. I don't know if it's probably Severino. It's probably Bird. Judge is on the way. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
When Carlos Beltran is off this roster, Aaron Judge is your right fielder.
Yep, exactly.
So those 3 definitely are going to be the new core. Would you rather have them go at it for a decade, or would you rather have made a stupid trade at the deadline and gone after one World Series this year?
Which isn't even guaranteed, might I add.
That's the rational reality Yankee fan that I have grown into. I used to be that pound my chest, we have to win every year. You get older, you get more mature, you tend to think a little clearly, you tend to think a little bit more rationally. This is what you do.
Exactly.
So guys, when you reach 42, when you reach my age, you'll say, you know what, the old guy was right. And when you're 42, I'm going to be a hell of a lot older, so I really don't want to think about that right now.
Chris, thank you very much for coming on. That's Chris Shearn of the Yes Network. Are you going to Elm Street Diner right now?
I am not, but the next time you come up, I will tell John you gave him a pop on the air, and he'll probably give you something for nothing.
Like that. Sweet.
Love it.
Elm Street Diner, Scott? Wow.
You're taking me.
I'll take you.
All right.
Ryan and Scott, just let me say thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to show my personality and have a little fun talking about the sport that I love. So thank you very much for having me on, guys.
Thank you for coming on. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right, take care.